GM Jan, it's so nice to have you in We Never Left podcast. I will go straight to the point. Can you explain what are the launchpads? How do you define them?
GM. Hi everyone. My name is Jan. So straight to the point, launchpads. I think launchpad is a very broad word for platforms that help campaigns do a token generation event. So launch and distribute their token, have community members participate in sales, and by that being able to do a part of marketing, but also a fair and a strong distribution of their token at the start.
It seems that Polkastarter and other launchpads are at the interesting crossroad of being a VC, token issuer, hype creator. If someone from Web3 marketing is listening, what would be the top recommendations for creating the communication strategy in Web3, both product-wise and TGE-wise?
Yeah, good question. Maybe just to start with that word like hype creation. I know that like in crypto, it's very important to create that initial hype and to have people following you and being excited about your launch. I wouldn't compare us, or I wouldn't say that we're a hype creator. Of course, we put the spotlight on projects, and what we try to do is to connect the community of early users and potential users, and early fans with the projects. But on the longer term. So we don't want to create a hype about the project for a couple of weeks to the IDO and then drop it. We want to create like a sustainable marketing campaign and especially educate users about the project, and then seeing if the users are interested in participating and connecting them through participation in the IDO. And then to answer the other question, if you have a project in Web3 and you're a head of marketing or a CMO, what's important, I think it's understanding the crypto culture. I think that especially if you communicate to a crypto audience, if you're more into like mass adoption, and if you're a fintech adding crypto, then it's completely different. But if you're launching like a DeFi protocol or whatever, you're going to launch it to a crypto audience. And therefore, you need to understand the culture. You need to understand the channels where you will be communicating. You need to understand the mechanisms. Like doing airdrops, for example, or being active on Discord, Telegram, Twitter, to build up that community. And then being transparent in your communication is important as well. Like explaining the roadmap, explaining where you're heading. You don't have to be 100% transparent. You have to leave a little bit room for speculation. So that's where people get excited and want to follow you, to be early on every news. But yeah, definitely being transparent, community-centered, being on the right narrative. For example, now we see a lot of real-world assets or DeepIn coming up. If you can click into that narrative and explain your part of the story on that innovation, then it's very, very interesting to do so. And yeah, keep your community close, keep being fair to your community as well, reward them. That's super important. And yeah, have fun, communicate a lot, and build that community.
So you mentioned about CMOs coming in and understanding the culture. Like when you looked at the TradFi or like the Web2 space, people are kind of familiar in the mass market around IPOs as a way for companies to raise funds, as a way for retail investors to come in and take a stake in the company. In fact, some years ago, we had like that 2017 ICO hype where projects basically weren't building much on chain. They just release a white paper and then they raise funds. And how would you compare like that? Yeah, I remember those times as well. And how would you compare, or let's say someone that's new to this, right? Like trying to understand what's the difference between the concept of an IPO and the concept of an IDO today, to where it's evolved, right? Yeah. From like the consumer point of view, as well as from the implication to the company or the protocol.
Yeah. Good question again. I think you explained it very well. Like an IPO is an initial public offering more for traditional companies to go public, so to make it able for everyone to purchase their stocks and to trade those. So there are a lot of similarities as well with an IDO. You look for exchanges, you list on exchanges, people are able to trade your stocks. But IDOs is decentralized, so that's the D in IDO. So that's one big change, and it's So it's based on Web3 to be decentralized. And the beauty is that it's accessible to everyone. So everyone can participate in a project. Of course, have a KYC liability, so you can't participate in if you're in a country that isn't allowed by the project, etc. But therefore, IDOs are one, decentralized, more accessible, and the other big change or advantage of an IDO is that you can do it earlier on. So that's a big advantage for both projects as for the participants. For the participant, you can invest or you can participate, let's say, to not say the word invest, but you can purchase tokens earlier on. So it's not only for the early stage VCs and the seed funders and the Series A, B, C before going to IPO that you can invest. You can do that earlier on. So that's one big advantage. And then the other big advantage is for the projects to also be able to raise in a more efficient way. You have less costs than doing an IPO, because in IPO you have a lot of middlemen, then you will have a lot of costs. And you also need like a long trajectory. You need a perfect product market fit. You need a lot of years of revenue, let's say, before doing that. But for a crypto project doing an IDO, you can do that earlier on. You can just propose your product, like in the ICO time perk was with a white paper. Now it's a little bit more. You need to have a couple interesting VCs or backers. You need to have a good exchange, or at least like some good ways to bring liquidity to the market for your token. You need some initial marketing campaign. You need a community and all of that. But you can do that or raise the funds way earlier in your company lifetime cycle. And raising earlier makes it very interesting for projects to have earlier funds to continue building, so to have more chances of succeeding. So that's what's making an IDO very, very interesting, and Web3 very interesting for projects looking to raise funds.
But if you can raise earlier, and from the retail perspective, buy tokens earlier, it means that there's more risk, isn't there, than IPO?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, there is more risk. So as a retail investor and you participate into an IDO, you need to take care of your own due diligence or on the due diligence of the platforms. For example, at Polkastarter, we put a lot of time and effort in the due diligence of those projects, so that the projects that we bring are projects that we strongly believe will do well, and we have a team of analysts for that. But of course, there is big risk because it's early in the journey. So it's like the startup scale. So the startups that will succeed after 10 years are only a small percentage. So being able to raise early on, you mean that you have way less chances of having that successful startup. But in an IPO, those companies are by definition all pretty successful companies. So then you speculate more on the future success of those companies. So yeah, there is more risk, more due diligence to do if you want to participate in an IDO.
But at this point with this platform, you're looking at startups or protocols that aim to, one, have a massive impact, and two, achieve high growth, right? So like a lot of adoption. The other thing that you mentioned around the IDO space is about giving users accessibility to these protocols as well. So like from your perspective, operating where you are, what do you see as the potential technology models that's going to drive the mass adoption for Web3 moving forward?
Yeah. By the way, I liked your point indeed. I need to stress on that as well. Like an IDO is beautiful because you can have your own community participating. So imagine if, for example, Netflix doing an IPO, it would have been beautiful for Netflix to be able to raise by those early users of Netflix believing in the product. Or even airdropping them, because that's pretty hot right now. But airdropping them tokens of your company and then contributing to the success of the company, that would have been super beautiful. But that isn't the case with an IPO because it's strongly regulated and all of that, which is also a good thing. And don't misunderstand me on that. And then to answer your question, on technologies that we believe will bring more adoption, I think now there are, in my opinion, of course, like two huge use cases where we see crypto as being here forever. One is banking the unbanked. So that's perfectly understandable by everyone, I think. And then the second one is giving value to the internet. And the internet community is a huge community. We're all more and more digital. We had social media, and then now we create this stuff on the internet. We have fora and all these things where we communicate with people on the internet. And now we're finally able to put an economical layer on the stuff that we create on the internet. That's not only meme token, but that's also art, communities, and all of that. So that's for me like a use case that will be here forever. And then when we look, especially with the research team at Polkastarter, at what will the next technologies be in Web3 that will bring more adoption, and we often see that interoperability, and we've been talking about this for years already, but interoperability will be key. So just smart and easy tools to use where you're able to work on multiple chains at the same time. So that will be very key. So infrastructure and interoperability. And then the other thing is scalability. So that's also very, very important. And now we see the flaws with scalability, for example, with Solana being hyped a lot with meme coins. You've seen that Solana has been not super scalable, so that needs to be fixed. But we believe in that scalable or projects, technology bring in the aspect of making scalability a non-issue. That will be big. So that's, for example, layer 2s. That will be a big thing in Web3. And then, of course, real world assets, Deepin is very hot right now. So we talk with a lot of projects. We see a lot of interesting things there as well. But we have to see still if that's going to be sticky or not in this market. We've seen that with a lot of things in the past as well. Like, for example, NFTs. I believe that NFTs will also come back in a cycle somehow. But it's crypto and it's in narratives and cycles. So now it's the Deepin and real world assets. And then let's see if it sticks, if you have killer apps on that. Gaming as well. Sorry, completely forgot about gaming, but that's a huge use case. So we look at that as well, and we see also there like a lot of added value of having a token for a game project, so those, when we see those things where a token is an added value into a project, that's for us like a green flag of this is here to stay.
Yeah, I'm making notes, and it seems like you mentioned 9 things that are the future of Web3 and mass adoption. Let's get back
Diversity.
to the first one. Let's get back to the first one, internet value. For me, I have the impressions more and more that my colleagues do not care so much about financialization, about getting your ROI right for your assets. But at the same time, in Web3, the community is very financially driven. So what do you think must happen that the internet value is perceived by the masses as crucial in the long term?
For the masses, it often brings me back to that scalability, but also accessibility. So easier tools to use. We've seen already like a couple really good things where you have an easy app to purchase digital assets, or even with NFTs that you can purchase like again digital assets or like collectibles without calling them NFTs. I think that's where the masses will more perceive the use case of that technology without having to call it Web3 or NFTs or crypto. But when the masses will start using crypto as a mean of payment between different countries or different currencies, or having an NFT that gives them access to a community or like a movie theater or whatever, like sport club or like a fanship NFT, that will bring way more users. I think now it's still, you have the Web3 natives and then you have the non-Web3 natives. And we've tried the past years, as we've seen a lot of projects trying to bridge them and to create like the real mass adoption. And we were able to get some newcomers in with the NFT hype. Now it's not really the case anymore. So we still need to see those things happening. So this really good consumer products bring in new people again into crypto. It can also be DeFi, for example. Like banks are not doing great in giving a high yield on your assets that you keep in your bank account. And crypto is able to solve this. But crypto is still crypto. So people are a little bit afraid of doing that. But if you have a really good app like Revolut that is doing crypto at the moment, if they give higher yield on stable coins, but they just call it like a euro or a dollar, but it's a digital euro and dollar, and they give 5-6% APY, then we will see more people coming in as well. So that's the trust that they need.
Yeah, and you also mentioned gaming, and I know that there is a project called games.gg, which recently launched their token on Polkastarter. So maybe can you explain how Web3 can also change the gaming industry, and at what point are we right now of this change, of this revolution?
Yeah. I've worked for another crypto company a couple of years ago where we had a blockchain tech infrastructure for gaming. So I've seen it in the early days, and I've seen how it evolved until now. And we're still not there yet for many games, because creating a game takes time, takes a lot of years. So that's why we start seeing them, but we haven't seen like all those AAA games integrating with blockchain technology or with tokens. But for us, it's like a no-brainer that digital assets within games are a huge added value. That is both for the game itself, because you can create a new economy within the game, as for the players, because those players don't need to buy skins on Fortnite and just spending money without getting money in return. So now you can create in-game economies. You have people that trade stuff in the game, but also people that purchase. And then if they want to quit the game, they just sell those assets again. If the game goes bankrupt or whatever happens, if the developers stop developing the game, then you have those assets that are your assets. And then there will be a new game popping up saying, okay, we enable the assets from the other game that you have. So you have a marketing machine to onboard a lot of new gamers instantly. So yeah, with games.gg, I think what they did really well is creating the whole community around it. It started with a guild playing games together, and it grew out in a huge platform with a lot of content, organizing game awards, for example, airdropping a lot of G3 tokens as well, growing the community. It's really going parabolic and or exponential, sorry. And now, games, we see the evolution within game developers, games themselves, introducing tokens in a smart way, NFTs as well. So this is definitely here to stay. And it's also more and more adopted by the gaming community. Now, also a couple of years ago, gamers were strongly against NFTs within like big games. And now they start seeing more and more the advantages and the utility for this. But then on the other hand, there's still a lot to be lobbied and figured out, and regulations and stuff. For example, like if you have the App Store from Apple taking like a huge cut on every NFT sale within a game, that's not how the economy is supposed to work. So those are like still the missing links that will definitely be here in the coming months and years, making adoption or mass adoption for gaming a real thing.
So you mentioned about gaming.gg having a good job in terms of reaching out to the community, building it. And I think this is something that, let's say, yourself and Polkastarter does quite a bit, in terms of being not just like a VC arm for these protocols, but also actually issuing the tokens and also like amplifying or hyping up the projects, right? So when these protocols come to you, the core team, the founders, how do you typically advise them in terms of the communication strategy, the acquisition strategy, for people coming in and building in Web3 today?
Yeah. So we help on like multiple bars with Polkastarter. We also have launched an accelerator, which is the poolside accelerator, where we help those products even earlier on with like before they have or at the start of an MVP, so very early. And then what we typically do with our analyst and marketing teams is first we look at the token value, the utility within the project, and often we also say like you don't need a token. And if you really don't need a token, if it's only going to be like a bad thing, then it's better to not launch with a token, and that happens more often than you would think. And then on marketing, I think what instead of saying hype again, what we want to see is traction. So we want to enable those projects having traction. So having enough community that are ambassadors, so that you have that tipping point where community brings in more community. I think that's super important. And how to get that traction is one, communicating clearly, being transparent, being always on. I would say that, and always on in the term that you need moderators, or even better, like if you're really early stage, you need the founders in that Telegram answering the questions from the community, learning from that. Then you need to build up campaigns to acquire new users. So that's typically airdrop campaigns, point campaigns that bring in like new people that are interested in earning something or getting something back. And then you need to filter those out that are just here to claim an airdrop, let's say airdrop farm, and then just leave again. No, you have to convince or attract them in a way that they stay in the community. So for this, and that's the most difficult part that we're going to see now, because it's very easy to announce an airdrop and to get a lot of people making an account, but then the retention is going to be the hardest part. So there we advise on being smart in your product, doing product growth, having people in the community sticking, giving input to you to collaborate on product growth is very key as well. And then building relevant things, that's the most important part, I think.
Yeah, once again, Jan, you touched upon so many interesting stuff. First of all, how is having a token a bad thing? Like, can you explain, maybe in an example, and not a specific one, but how token actually, made the things worse for the project?
Yeah. I can show, or I can explain with some examples that we are seeing. And again, it's very similar to the IPO as well. With an IPO, you have suddenly like a ton of shareholders, and those have a voice and they express themselves. So if your token price, or if your stock price goes down, or if people are not happy, like Tesla fans and anti-Tesla fans and whatever, people shorting Tesla and longing Tesla, there is a lot of people that expect a lot of things from a company, and suddenly they're shareholders, so they think they also have to influence. And then the same thing happens with a Web3 project. So you have token holders, and typically in Telegram or in Discord, those token holders unite and want to get a lot of return for their tokens. Also, that this has been in the crypto space a thing that we struggle with. It's not like a 10% growth per year that we need to look at to make our holders happy. It's multiple X's per year of a bull market. So that's a tough challenge to fulfill if you have thousands of people asking you different things in your channels. So that makes it very difficult. And then you have the fairness aspect. So for Polkastarter, we want to make participating in IDOs accessible for everyone. But on the other hand, the more Pulse token you have, the more chances you will have to get drafted and to participate in an IDO. But then you would say like, okay, this is not fair, because you want to make it able for everyone to participate. So therefore, we look for solutions to balance that correctly, to have like different tiers. But then you will always have people that are unhappy, and those people express their sentiment in public community groups and stuff. So you have a lot of FUD or people unhappy. Of course, you have a lot of people happy as well. But that creates like additional challenges to the system, having those token holders.
So is it the pressure? I mean, the founders, co-founders, CEO are under so immense pressure from their team, from the market, from the VCs, from themselves, because they have high ambition. And then they launch a token, and they have like these thousands of people that have expectations towards them, towards their team, towards their vision. So do you have like any cases that, I don't know, the pressure was just too much and the project dissolved?
Yeah, like I've seen it a lot, like in NFT communities as well, where just people burn out at a certain moment, especially if you're early on and you're active on all those channels, which you should be. Then it's a lot of information to digest. And you, as a founder, you want to make your users happy, but you can't make them all happy. So you have to focus on some segments, let's say, that are relevant for your company. And then later on, like for example, at Polkastarter, we have a team of moderators and community managers. So that's really well managed. And then the very important feedback points will stream back into internal channels and our product team, etc. yeah, it's important to be there, but it's also important to not be burned out by all community requests that are coming, because the spectrum of people wanting things is going to be complete opposite for hundreds of people. So if you do good for one, then you will do bad for the other one. It was what we did, like with first come first serve now. So we have on our sales, you can participate by having polls. We divide polls holders in tiers. So the higher tier you are, the more polls you have, and the more chances you have to participate in a sale. But as we want to make it accessible for everyone, we have like a small percentage, like 15, 20% of that sale available for public. And by public, we mean like every user we have that has more than 250 polls can participate in the sale if they are KYC'd on a first come, first served basis. So some people are really happy because even not being drafted, they can participate if they're quick enough. Then other people will be super pissed because they have slow internet and the site crashes or goes down and they are too late and they're not able to participate. So it's really, yeah, if we don't do it, then one group is not going to be happy. And if we do it, the other group is not going to be happy. So that gives you like additional challenges.
It seems that if you have a token, you're like politician. You cannot make everyone happy, right? Every change has its disadvantages and advantages. So you mentioned polls token as a way to participate in IDOs, but recently you also added the airdrop utility. Am I right? That polls, I don't know, stakers or holders will also receive airdrops from the projects that do IDOs within Polkastarter. And first of all, is that correct? And second of all, how do you design the token utilities? And are there new coming up?
So to start with the first question, is this correct? Yeah, mostly correct. Like the airdrop can also be from projects that are not launching or not doing an IDO on Polkastarter. So that can happen as well. What's important, like how we design our token, and our token in September is going to be 4 years old. But we kept it simple. Let's say, okay, what the main utility of polls is participating in sales. So polls gives you polls power. And the more polls power you have, the more chances you have to participate in a sale. And then we have 6 tiers. And we said, okay, the smallest tier, the smallest polls holders and polls powers holders have the smallest chances to be drafted in the lottery to participate in a sale. And then the highest tier have more chances to participate. So that's where we started. And then we recently introduced a 6th tier. So our 6th tier is plus 50k pulse power, and plus 60k pulse power is having more than 50k pulse. We introduced that back to or when our price was lower. So
sorry, is it like 50k USD more or less?
Yeah, almost like our token price is around $1. Now it's a little bit lower, but it's around 50k USD indeed. But when we introduced it, our price was like 4 times lower, so it was way cheaper. And then with that tier, we have also like more exclusive things. So one thing is you're guaranteed in participating in an IDO, so you don't have to go through lottery, guaranteed. And then we also have private sales. So some projects came to us wanting to organize more private sales, and private sales still for retail investors. But as it's a private sale is like a mostly like a smaller raise, we offer it to the biggest tier, to the 50k plus tier, and also like to the 30k plus tier, but then it's subject to lottery again. So that's the utility that we have, mainly focused around being able to participate in sales, private sales, IDOs.
I'm so sorry. I want to ask you a question around that, right? Because you have your stakers or holders then receiving airdrops, and this could even be from protocols that don't actually run an IDO, right, on Polkastarter, right? So this is very similar to the trend that we see, like, okay, people airdropping random tokens to like Jupe holders or to like Pudgy holders or to like NetLed holders. And I think like there's 2 sides to the story, right? One is like, it's very interesting because you have the community distribution that's already pre-existing that you can kind of target and disseminate to. But then there's also this counter where even the protocol users are going, hey, why do these random NFT guys get a random airdrop? How about us OGs or users? Like, as someone that's advising and marketing in this space, and when you actually have a chat with some of these protocols, like considering some of these drops, what are the trade-offs or the considerations here?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And when we do those airdrops, like the G3 airdrop, we had like a portion of the airdrop, and then the other portion is for the G3 users themselves. Of course, games.gg, the G3 token project, is a daughter project, or was born within our own community. So we work together closely. But then for other projects, when we do an airdrop, it's just a part of their bigger airdrop campaign, or it's like an additional boost for points within the airdrop campaign. Because what you said is really important. Like if you're a project and you want to do an airdrop, the first thing you want to do is reward your own users and your early community, and then the other thing you want to do is bring on new people. But you need to balance it in a correct way, indeed, to not upset the people. You will always upset people, but yeah, you need to try to do that at least as possible. And then
it's basically an optimization problem, right?
Yeah, indeed. It's just we like for G3. I've seen the sheets calculating, because it's a huge amount of money that you airdrop, but you want to distribute it fairly to have like a lot of people benefiting. But if you airdrop it to 1 million people, then they all get like $2 on a $2 million airdrop. So you need to reward the people that are early or have like a lot of XP in games, example, or like bigger pulse holders or early pulse holders get a little bit more and stuff like this. And we introduced that feature a couple months ago, where it is for pulse takers, sometimes also for pulse holders, to be eligible for airdrops. And we continue to do this because projects know that we have a quite strong community, and we also use pretty good analytic tools, marketing tools like Cookie Tree, for example, to track like the wallets that are connected to a website, to segment them really well. And that means that airdropping via Polkastarter to the community is often like a good airdrop, and not just a farmer's airdrop, because you have, like you said, an existing community and space, and you don't have like suddenly new wallets farming an airdrop.
I recently received an airdrop from EFINA, ENA token. I was not involved with this project. I'm just a holder of Shizo Poster. I don't know if you know this NFT collection. But after I received the token, I'm still holding some of these tokens. I got involved. So I think this could be an efficient way to actually tap into, communities that are really deep into Web3. Because if someone is holding Shizo Poster, this is like usually a degen. That's not a normie. Because they're not like, I don't know, $10 worth. So you need to invest and you need to understand the community. So I think even though there's some trade-offs, you really can get to people that just didn't know about your project. And that's something amazing. And
you mentioned also relevant people.
Exactly. And you mentioned, Jan, that retention is the hard part. So can you share some pro tips when it comes to community retention after the TGE, when the hype is getting a little bit, slower?
I think there's a lot of people like gonna listen to this part of the conversation very, very closely. I think it's kind of like this quarter is like the whole like airdrop and TGE quarter, especially. Probably like the highest rates of like token launches and drops that we've seen. So I think it's a very important question for most builders right now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'm going to answer it 100% correctly. It's just my opinion. But statistically, airdrops, like tokens that were airdropped, have almost all a decline in price after the airdrop value. So it is, if you want to beat that, and if you want to, in the end, be higher than that airdrop price or rebuild that, then you're going to be one of the few. And how do you do this? In my opinion, is first, especially like after TGA, is having a working product where the token has a utility. So not having like, okay, in 2 years, our token will have utility on the platform. But if you have it directly, then it works. or it has more potential to work. With that, a staking contract, again, rewarding people to stake your token into a smart contract is also something that works, because then you have less liquidity or sell pressure on the market. So that's good as well to maintain that token price. Then smart tokenomics, so token distribution vesting schemes, is also key in not having the market overflood too soon with too many tokens, so that you have time to create value. That makes sense for the token price to still go up. Fair valuations across different rounds that you do. If your private investors are bought in 10 times cheaper than your public sale, then you will know that they will dump because they do a 10x in a couple of months. So that's also very key, what we look at. And then if you have a working product, it helps, of course, but then you can ship features where people are continuously excited and know and see that something is being built, something is getting bigger. And if you get them into that narrative close to you, that they understand that story and that they live it and they become ambassadors, bring new people in because you're still a growing company, then you have potential that people are going to speculate again, that your token is going to be worth more. So start accumulating your token and using your token within your ecosystem. So that can also be key. Or you have like burn mechanisms where you say like each X couple weeks, months, we will have a portion of our token that is being burned. But that's not typical. I mean, that's not per se needed after a TG.
Yeah, if I can add something on top of that, because all these are of course relevant, but then we have bots and airdrop hunters that can really make the TGE post TGE period really worse. And I will do a little bit of shilling, but not too much, because at Cookie Free we developed an airdrop shield, which basically exclude bots from your airdrop. And we did a little bit of research, and I found one very interesting insight is that 97% of airdrop recipients of 1inch token sent all their tokens to exchanges within 1 week. So they just didn't stick. They did not retain within 1inch ecosystem. And I'm not saying that they did not use 1inch aggregator in the future. I think they did, because they found out about the project. Maybe they got some fat bucks, but they dumped those airdrop tokens on the market. And the assumption of the academic paper that provided me with this information was that the airdrops are being botted. We also done some calculation on our internal users, and we found out that up to 70% of the eligible wallets are actually coming from bots. And there are, of course, ways to exclude them, such as KYC may be a good one, but then you can buy, 30 IDs from Indonesia and just buy those KYCs. There are ways to omit that. I even read a small article about the Russian company, which has like 20 employees, and all they do is airdrop hunting. Exactly. How do you consider this problem? Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, it's a fair point, and I think that's definitely like the reason why you will have so much sell pressure. But of course, you also see that if you get an airdrop, I think it was like back then, ENS airdrop or Ape with the Bored Ape, that those were airdrops with like easily 5-6 figures. And sorry, if you airdrop life-changing money to someone, then it's also definitely going to be sold. So you need to be also in the sweet spot of the value, but value for one part of the world is different than the other part. Because if you airdrop like a $5 thing, and people are maybe not going to sell, but they're not going to be very interested either. So you just keep it as dust on their wallet. But definitely, bots is an issue, but can be solved now. So that is good. With G3, the airdrop was also very smart. You had to create an account and stuff. So there were no bots coming in. And Yeah, we still have to see. Like the other interesting thing is the first week. So maybe if you have like more data and stats about projects, if you can convince people to hold your token for at least a week, if then the chances are really high that people just keep it for a long term. That would be interesting to see. And then you need to focus on stuff. I think it was Blast and Blur. It was with the Blur airdrop, second phase or whatever. And then they said, yeah, you can directly, instead of withdraw, stake it directly into a contract that will, on the longer term, give you redacted the Blast token. And that was a super smart mechanism to have people not withdrawing and then selling, but to have it directly staking it. And it's also a huge difference when you say I got airdrops directly in your wallet and you claim something somewhere. Because if you need to claim it, then you need to interact a little bit with the project at least. And then you learn a little bit about the project. But of course, for meme tokens, it's more fun to airdrop it and put it in people's wallets, like the Solana meme craze. Product team.
Yeah, and also like the nice example of the engagement, that the level of engagement that must be met before claiming the airdrop and withdrawing it is from the Pixel. I don't know if you know this company. It's on Ronin Network, and they split the airdrop into two phases. The first one, you just could withdraw and set it whatever you want. But the second one, if you want to withdraw it was like 1 month after the first one. You need to have like a second level within the game. So you really need to play the game, spend Pixel tokens within the game to actually withdraw it. And I think this is, a kind of cool way, to keep people engaged after the airdrop.
Yeah, it's good. The phases, airdrops and phases is very smart because you have people coming back. I think G3 is doing that as well with games.gg. And then if you also would have some, but I haven't seen it yet, like some airdrop mechanisms where you have vesting as well. So you say initiate my airdrop or whatever, and then you have daily vesting and you get the tokens daily. Then you don't have that high sell pressure and people wait before they sell. And by waiting to sell, they keep coming back, track the price, they get in contact or they get attached to a project and they retain as a user.
Yeah, I think that the vesting schedule, let's say 1 month, but linear vesting release on a daily basis could be quite cool as well.
So we have a few quick fire questions for you, yeah. So it's kind of like just a very quick one-liner or just one-word answer.
Yeah.
If you were a token, which one would you be?
Pepe.
Pepe? Why?
It's culture. I think that's why I'm in crypto. I think it's for the or I stayed in crypto for the culture. So
culture and joy.
Nice. It's crypto culture. Yeah.
Second question: EVM or SVM?
EVM.
Definitely. EVM. Why?
Yeah, I think that's being one of the old guys in crypto. I'm a big fan of everything built around Ethereum, and just sticking to that. Also, like working with developers, knowing that they often prefer EVM compatibility. I'm also like living more in the EVM bubble, let's say. So my echo chamber is more EVM, so I'm not completely onboarded in the other community.
Next question: which L2 of choice? Which L2 of choice? There's a million
Arbitrum?
now, so it's going to be tough.
Yeah,
Arbitrum. Yeah, the
Arbitrum. Yeah.
And what do you like about Arbitrum?
Yeah. What I like about Arbitrum, it's like a lot of things that you can find in the other L2s as well. But Arbitrum has shown to really be working, be adopted. It's EVM. I have a lot of projects building on Arbitrum, hearing a lot of good things about the community and the builders behind Arbitrum. So I think it's a combination of all that, and it's not a super hyped marketing network either. So that's what I also like about it. It gives me more security and feeling that it's also here to stay.
Nice. So which DeFi strategy of choice for you?
What do you mean by that?
If you had to choose one choice of a DeFi strategy or an investing strategy in crypto, what would that be?
definitely one that I'm not doing. But it would be like dollar cost average buying, and also just sticking to indexes or smart indexes, or just buying Bitcoin and ETH and waiting it out. I'm sure that if I would have done that in the past, I would have outperformed my portfolio. So yeah, and by losing less time in trading.
I think I and many people can relate.
Yeah.
Which protocol are you a fanboy of?
0x. Like 0x has one user application that is matcha swapping. So, and it's cross chain as well, and it's just so smooth. It looks good. It's I don't know if it's the cheapest, but it's definitely really competitive in terms of swaps because they do cross platform swap aggregation. Sorry, but it works really well, and it's beautiful. It's well designed. It's from 0x, so fanboy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is there anyone that you wish would disappear from the crypto scene?
I'm gonna be generalist about that. KOLs, like a lot of KOLs are like, not good guys and girls. So I would love, but that's not gonna happen because the all influencer and KOL marketing is really strong and needed for projects as well. But I would love that to be less important in a marketing strategy.
And last question from me. Any word of advice to someone listening about crypto today?
Yeah, if you're new, definitely go and play, test out a lot of stuff. It's a very deep rabbit hole. And if you're a crypto OG, I would say make sure that you follow regulations a bit. If you cash out, that you pay taxes and stuff like this. That's also going to be very important for people not to end up in jail, let's say, or with high fees.
Wise words. Anthony?
Yeah, SBF should have listened to that advice from his lawyers, but he didn't. And you know where he is right now. Yeah, so last question, Jan. Where, if someone is new to launchpads and would like to a little bit engage with that kind of investment in Web3, where can he or she find you?
So Polkastarter.com is our website, and I think like all project pages are there. You can see the upcoming projects. I think that's a really good start. And then if you want to go a little bit more in the discussion, you can join our Telegram or Discord. Definitely follow us on Twitter. That's where all the main information will always be shared. That's at Polkastarter. And I think we try to make it accessible, but also understandable for everyone. So I think going on our website, you will see content and video explainers and stuff that will explain you how an IDO works, what the Pulse token does, how you can participate, etc. And then once you get started, I think you're easily hooked to the system.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Jan, for joining. We never left, and good luck with the space. Cheers.
Thank you. It was a great conversation. Thanks for having me.